Hello, listeners. It's a lovely, humid Saturday afternoon in Australian January.
So humid.
I'm Yahtzee Croshaw, and you're listening to the Sierra Presents Masterpiece Theatre.
I'm Pudgy Elder God Chub Niggurath.
It's Space Quest 3, actually.
Pirates of Pestilon.
Yes.
Old Sierra point-and-click games. Sadness generators.
Well, we'll get to that.
Wait, is this the point-and-click or is this verb?
Well, I wanted to get onto that later.
Okay.
But this is an SCI game, one of the earlier SCI games, which was the second engine Sierra worked with after AGI. AGI was what they made the really low-res stuff like Space Quest 2 and King's Quest 1 with.
Yeah, they're...
Where everyone's like rectangular bricks.
Yeah, it looks like an advanced Atari 2600.
This is getting better. I actually really like the music in this game, incidentally.
Yeah, that's pretty good, actually. Reminds me of Quantum Leap for some reason.
I always quite liked the music in Space Quest.
I think there's something to be said for back before you could have any orchestrated music. I think that forced creativity.
Well, this is a point I've often made, is that video game music was often much more melodious in retro times.
Yeah.
Because they had to have memorable melodies. Now,
Mega Man 1, that game has some great music.
as I was saying, this is the SCI engine, which got all the way up to 320 by 200 graphics. Whoa, crazy. Hope it never stops.
Did you even have a monitor capable of that kind of majesty?
I did want to say, actually, there's something really, really wrong about watching a 320 by 200 game on a 60-inch TV, full screen.
I don't know. I think it holds up. Like I
was playing through this, I felt like the text font was trying to kill me.
That's just a Sierra game. The text font is trying to kill you.
Now, this game is Space Quest 3 and picks up after Space Quest 2 left off. Space Quest 2 ended pretty much exactly the same way Flashback ended, with our hero in an escape pod, drifting in unknown space.
It's a fairly safe way to end any sci-fi, really.
I think it's a pretty natural conclusion, because sci-fi is all about the wonder of exploration, and this ending is all like, the adventure continues sort of approach.
If you're adrift in an escape pod, the adventure can continue in pretty much any way.
Yeah, I mean, James Bond films tended to end in a similar way, where he'd be in an escape vehicle with his latest hottie. Yes. And basically, James Bond porking a hottie is the equivalent of hypersleep in science fiction. It's just the state they're in when the camera goes off them.
My penis is going to be in suspended animation.
Yes, at the end of Space Quest 2, Roger Wilco, who actually wasn't called that at the time, you could choose your own name in Space Quest 2, but if you just pressed enter without entering anything, it would default to Roger Wilco. So now he's just Roger Wilco.
Yeah.
At the end of Space Quest 2, you destroyed the evil fortress of the Evil Voe Hall. And you put yourself into hypersleep, and now you've drifted into an unknown region of space, and your pod's been picked up by an automated garbage freighter.
Graphics like this were a big deal back in '89.
Whoa, space adventures, excitement. Well, it is 16 colours still, like the AGI games were, but there's much more of the... What do you call that when they alternate different colours to try to simulate a third colour?
Shading? I don't know. I'm not an artist. I don't know shit.
There is a special word for it.
Last person you should be asking is me.
I will look that up.
Yeah. But you know what I mean. The console games didn't. That was the big split at the time between console games and PC games. Was the PC games would have these big, sort of shots like that. The kind of cartoon, moments. And they could do like just hand-drawn pixel bits with the eyes that open and stuff. Whereas apparently, again, I'm not an expert on this particular point, but apparently
sprites in like your NES and consoles and stuff would often have to be like hard-coded and stuff.
that's hard-coded sprites. So they couldn't do shit like this.
I know they were on Commodore 64. I know that much. I used to program in that a bit. You just had to enter like grid references for where all the pixels were on a sprite. But this would have actually been made with art programs. There's a program you can get, SCI Edit, where you can like break in and edit SCI games. There was equivalent one for AGI.
Space Quest with dicks.
There was equivalent one for AGI, and I used to do a thing where I'd take old AGI games and replace the main character with another one and change all the dialogue to be really facetious.
Curious.
Which was more
find those now. Yeah, they have those sitting around. Yeah,
it was more fun when you did that with King's Quest games, which took themselves seriously. It was less so. One thing I did do was I broke into the first Leisure Suit Larry, and where you have sex with a prostitute, there's a censor bar. I took the censor bar off and animated them fucking instead.
Of course you did. Course you did.
I'd felt cheated by that for years.
That's how you can tell Yahtzee's a creative soul. Is most other people would have just found a way to see boobs. Not Yahtzee Croshaw. I'm gonna create boobs.
I used to draw my own pictures of tits and jerk off to them when I was a kid. Anyway. Now, interestingly...
I feel better about myself, and so should you.
Now, what's the one thing everyone knows about Sierra adventure games?
They will fucking kill you for nothing. Yeah.
Well, Space Quest 3 is surprisingly
not a free
gentle.
site. Yep, there we go.
You actually have to put quite a lot of work into finding the first death in Space Quest 3. In Space Quest 2, Leisure Suit Larry 1, and King's Quest 1, and I think King's Quest 2 as well, you could die by walking 3 feet in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Right at the very start of the game.
Onto the road.
But you have to go through quite a few room transitions to find a way to die in Space Quest 3, and as you can see, it's actually pretty well signposted. It's a mincer.
Yeah.
Stay out of that.
Yeah. Nothing good is going to happen if you sit there. Yeah, I had this. I was trying to remember whether it was this one or the second one that I had when I was a kid.
I had all of them. I had the Space Quest collection.
I got that much later when you could get it on a disc.
Yes, that's what I had. I had Space Quest 4 for a while, which I think is the very worst Space Quest. I chose this Space Quest because I think it's one of the worst, but I have strange mixed feelings about it. Oh yeah, and watch how long it takes for me to lose patience and up the game speed piloting this fucking thing. That's the other thing about Sierra games.
You could crank the speed.
Yeah, you crank the game speed up and down. The AGI games only had slow, normal, fast, and fastest. And fastest was just
unplayable.
As fast as your computer could run it, which meant unplayably fast for every computer past a certain point.
Yeah, there were a few old police. I liked the Police Quest games, and Police Quest 3. You can get it through good old games now, and it's made so it'll actually run, and I suggest that because it's a good game. But in the old days where you were downloading it as abandonware on any computer that wasn't like a 386, the little arcade driving sequences would go batshit.
Cranked up that speed. Whoa, yeah, now we're space adventuring. Actually, one of the reasons I did pick this one is because it is very boring. And the reason for that is because there's no quest in it.
Huh.
It's just sort of bumming around space for a while, and then, for want of something to do, you go off and rescue some guys you've never met.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that is what I find interesting about it. I mean, when you compare... I always find Sierra versus LucasArts were the big adventure players, but Sierra was all about quantity, whereas LucasArts was all about quality.
Yeah.
They'd make a few games, and they were all really incredibly solid games.
Yeah.
But Sierra...
And they didn't kill you all the fucking
Sierra
time.
made like 6 of every single franchise they did.
Yep.
And with games like this, you just feel like they're just kind of in a circling pattern, you know?
Well, I mean, how would it have been if this is all just made essentially with a verb thing and art, then probably wouldn't have been too much hassle to just pump these things out, essentially.
I guess not. I mean, you saw what a tiny, small credit screen there was at the start of this.
I'm trying to think of... When was LucasArts first active? Like 89? When was... this was made in 89. What's something LucasArts would have been making around this era?
Oh, God.
Because I'm trying to think of what this would be comparable to.
Maybe...
Were they even active? Like, I'm really bad with my 90s adventure games, and I put them either way too early or way too late.
I'm not sure, actually. Maybe they'd be making shit like Loom.
Oh, yeah. Loom's a better game.
Maybe Zack McCracken and the Alien Mindbenders. Maybe the Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade adventure game.
Oh, yeah, that was quite early.
Yeah,
Indiana Jones and Fate of Atlantis is one of my favorites.
Well, yeah, that's why everyone forgets about Last Crusade.
Yeah, that was Last Crusade. I remember I was playing Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones Last Crusade had the unenviable task of recreating an action film as an adventure game.
Yeah, arcade sequences. Kind of hard to do. But,
I should probably explain what we're doing here. We're
yeah.
trying to escape from the junk freighter. We need to find a ship that's in enough working order that we can escape in it.
Yeah, see, that's not signposted remarkably well.
No, well, I guess it's implied, you know. You're trapped in this thing, therefore get out of this thing. That's a story for the ages. We can all get behind.
Trap-in thing, escape thing.
When you talk about point-and-click adventures, though, this isn't technically point-and-click.
This is mouse and...
Well, there is a mouse, but it's there for no reason at all, except
not
because...
Yeah, it's arrows.
But it has SCI had a mouse cursor for basically no reason, except that LucasArts had one.
And LucasArts actually used it.
Because the control is all done through text input, of course, the text parser. And what SCI had over AGI, of course, is that the game pauses while you're typing.
Oh, God.
Whereas AGI, in a lot of ways, you have to very, very quickly type like a fucking secretary at the CIA while you're speeding towards death.
That wasn't fun. Not fun at all.
Because that's not really testing your logic problem-solving skills, is it?
I mean, on the plus side, you learn to type playing these damn things.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people did. So the solution to the puzzle wherein we take a reactor, but then the rat we stole it from steals it back, is then to steal it back again. And then he's fine.
Amazing! Now I've got the theme to ratties stuck in my head.
Yep. But
It's
just sort of like the shape of things to come. It's just the sort of like...
Little self-contained quasi-non-problems.
This is a game of bumbling around. That didn't work. Oh, can I try it again? Yes. Does it work this time? Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, fine. Go away.
It's like we're playing.
Sick of looking at you.
Like we're playing a pen and paper RPG with a bored dungeon master at the end of a long day.
That's a very good way of summing this up. All I can think about now is like Indiana Jones and Fate of Atlantis. Because that was a fucking amazing game that had different difficulty levels, different ways of solving puzzles.
By the way, that's a ledge down there that you might fall off if you walk over it. See? It's a good thing they made that very clear.
They signpost those a lot. It's really your fault for falling off that obvious ledge.
Yes. Another thing about these games is they could be kind of like traumatic.
Yeah, no, the old Sierra games would just kill you all the time for no fucking reason. Like, that wasn't a reason.
But, you know, they'll kill you in a kind of jovial way, but they'll also show a really heart-stoppingly gory image of it happening. There are some later that really boggle the mind.
Yeah, no.
I mean, when you look at, you know, the fuss people make about violent games these days...
Well, this was when the only people who played games were people who played games, and other people just didn't know about this stuff going on.
Yeah, well, PC gaming around this time was pretty much much more the adult sphere, because playing a PC game required a certain amount of expertise, unlike console games where kids could just slam it in and get going.
Slam it in and get going.
That's the ship we want. It's called the Aluminum Mallard. It's a joke, and here's a reference to 2001 because
there's been a few references already.
Yeah, that was the Space Quest series for you. It referenced shit a lot.
Hey, remember that sci-fi?
Yeah, and they'd slightly changed the name of it. Like earlier when we looked at that TIE fighter, like the text box, the bow tie fighter, a relic of the Cologne Wars. They said that's a very look at that. You die if you step off. Like a 3-foot high ledge, and your head explodes when it hits the ground.
Yeah, I see what you mean about the discrepancy now, because that was a weirdly realistic depiction of like massive skull trauma.
Yeah,
and you got that from a slight fall. Yeah. A fall of literally less than your physical height.
Yeah, it's fucked. And if you don't do exactly the right thing when you're escaping the ship inside this ship,
of course
you end up with like, I don't think I showed it in this, but you end up with a picture of like the cockpit window broken, your guts are all bursting out of your stomach.
I'm disappointed you didn't show that now. That's all I want to say.
I kind of forgot.
Oh, I've been denied computer graphic violence.
Oh no, you'll have to go and become one of those troubled teens we've heard about.
I'm gonna go smoke the cigarettes and maybe the pot. And then I'll have a fit and murder my friends.
But for all its paradoxical boredom, I actually quite like a few aspects of Space Quest 3, and one of them is this. A sort of semi-organic spaceship controls. It's not just, you know, linear, press this button now, press this button now, press this button now. You can actually, like, move freely around the universe. And I took some cues from it when I made an amateur sci-fi game with a sort of open-ended movement focus called Adventures in the Galaxy of Fantabulous Wonderment. that would have been quite a few years ago now.
I haven't heard of that.
Oh, memories. I think that one did end up getting a TV Tropes page, but only because of all my other games did. They were just going for completeness' sake.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is one of your weird completionist fans.
Yeah.
Start making up other weird games that nobody else has seen that you've made.
So now we're in space and can go theoretically anywhere, except not really.
I imagine you secretly produce loads of little porn games under a pseudonym.
Well, do you know, I actually considered that once.
It's just all coming, it's all coming together.
Well, I had an idea for an erotic game, and I was like, would it be possible to make a tasteful and interesting work of erotica as an adventure game without it becoming porn? I was actually working with a girl on the concept, but it never really took off. But I was going to use an assumed name.
The problem is, to me, watching sex negates the...
I was going to call myself Juan Suave.
This is great.
Anyway, we are now... This is like the first...
so many things that I'm...
This is the first semi-quest stroke issue thing we have to resolve in the game. We're being chased by a robot who's after us for vending machine fraud that we committed in the previous game.
Vending machine fraud.
And it's the Terminator, so it looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's the joke.
See, to me, like, displaying sex when you're watching it, I think negates any sort of intimacy that the sex is going to have. Because fundamentally, sex looks fucking stupid. Like, porn stars go to a lot of trouble to make sex not look fucking retarded.
Yeah, I'm with you that.
And
I used to have a bedroom with a lot of mirrors in it, and I just had to try not to look at them while I was having sex with someone.
Fantastic.
There's nothing more off-putting than seeing my hairy, flabby form flopping away on top of a lady.
Again, there's a reason why...
Although I did have gone out with girls who kind of had a thing for, like, you know, looking themselves in the eye while they were being railed. Never mind. Moving on.
No, I'm gonna keep dipping back to this. But that's what I mean. Like, I think implying sex is better than displaying sex, because if you're displaying it, it's just kind of, I don't know. It always just looks kind of awkward and dumb to me. And implying it, I think, can carry the...
Well, this is why there's
the value of it.
This is why a big market for erotica rather than porn, because erotica is basically a tastefully lit depiction of sex as we all kind of wish it would look like. Complete with the sort of grocery store jazz playing in the background.
Grocery store jazz.
Hey, great idea, Mark Crow. Now we don't have to animate the robot walking around.
God, that would have been hard.
Yeah.
Did you see that robot? It was buff.
Now, in this screen only, Roger's, like, actually a bit bigger than he is in other screens. I guess because they kind of fucked up the perspective and couldn't think of a better way.
Perspective in these old Sierra games is...
And they were like, I don't want to change the whole background.
I'm not doing that. Fuck, yep. This is exciting.
Yep, plenty of hidden ways to die that I'm not showing you.
Walk up. Is there a sandworm somewhere on this planet?
Not on this planet, no. There is in the first game.
Huh.
If you walk too far in one direction. Actually, on this planet, there is a giant snake that eats you if you walk too far in one direction.
Does it look like the snake from Beetlejuice?
Might have done. Well, it doesn't burst out of the ground, it's just sitting there.
Yeah, I'll go back now, you hear? Alien scum.
Haha, did you see that? He said one thing and thought another. What a conflicted character. I'm sure he'll be the sort of Falstaff of this narrative.
He's space racist!
Now, actually, I didn't know about this until I replayed this game, but I noticed, like, they make a point of saying how cute the animal in this case is, so I thought, yeah, they obviously want us to open this case now, don't they? And then they're going to kill me for it, aren't they? Yep, thought as much.
It's you dancing.
Only an idiot will get near one, like you! Yeah, games really enjoyed insulting the player around this time.
Thanks for playing Sierra's Fuck You quest. This guy. Yeah, he's popped up in later ones.
He shows up in Space Quest 6, yes, you're right.
Was that Spinal Frontier?
Yes.
Yes, I like Spinal Frontier.
Why? It's shit.
Why?
Because it's just kind of badly designed. And
I enjoyed it.
There's a weird.
It had Stooge Fighter.
There's a weird incongruity of if you say no once, he gives you more money, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, you get enough money to buy everything you need to buy anyway.
I love the crazy fast talk animations. It reminds me of like the salesman from
Stan the salesman from Monkey Island, where he just wave his arms around
constantly.
Yeah, you might as well just buy everything he shows you.
Fuck yeah, of course, it's an adventure game. You don't not pick shit up.
I think that's the only one that has any use. The underpants.
I remember Space Quest 6, you get a fish skeleton at the start of it, and you don't use it until the very end, and it's literally the game winning item.
That was the joke. And every now and again, you'd think you'd lost it, but then a character would go, "Hey, you forgot your fish."
Don't forget your fish! I wonder if that's going to come in handy later.
Space Quest 6 had a weird incongruity of sometimes it had really good writing, and sometimes it had incredibly bad writing.
I do love the idea that their version of the Vulcan neck pinch was to grab someone and whisper lines from Tango and Cash into their ear.
Yes.
That is just one of my favorite fucking things in the world.
So now we have a robot who is apparently not terribly into his job.
Labionian Terror Beast mating call whistle.
Yes.
Vaginas.
And so after this text box, he basically just says, you know what, I'm just kind of bored today, so if you can get back to your ship, I'll just forget I saw you.
So that's really the solution to this puzzle?
Well, no, because obviously there's no way to get back to your ship in time.
Ah.
You can try. In fact, I will try. But spoiler alert, it doesn't work out terribly well.
No, run! Do you suppose it's like a programmed thing, you just cannot do it, or somewhere there's someone on a speed run going, "I did it. What's wrong with you? You suck."
No, it's a program thing. You can never escape from the planet this way. You have to defeat the evil robot.
Aww. What the?
That's just a random thing that kills you and has no other purpose.
You walk under it and it drops on you.
The Space Quest is full of shit like that.
Yeah, every Sierra game.
Oh, we made it! Oh no, we didn't.
Is he twisting you up?
Yeah, we're getting wrung out. Interestingly, this is not the only time in the series you're killed in such a way by an Arnold Schwarzenegger stand-in. That also happens in Space Quest 6.
Yeah, except by that time it was the T-1000 and you got to freeze them. Turn them into ice cubes.
Always got their finger on the pulse of popular culture, Sierra.
Yeah, it's Aaron Seltzer and Jason Friedberg level of cultural awareness. I just realized I haven't been saying anything positive about the Xbox One yet.
Oh, that's right. That was our topic we had when the game got boring.
Kind of suspiciously just say nothing but positive things about the Xbox One for reasons we can't talk about.
Yes, in case you haven't been following the news, people, and why would you? Because it's January, also known as Wasteland Month in the games industry. The Xbox One there's been a bit of kerfuffle surrounding it and surrounding videos of Xbox One gameplay. In that Machinima.com and allegedly Microsoft were trying to offer people money to produce positive hagiographical videos of Xbox One games.
Well,
hold the phone, something interesting's happening.
Push pulley.
See,
shit!
I didn't realise you had to be facing the other way.
Twist him like a little noodle.
I've played this game before and I didn't actually know that happened if you were facing the wrong way. So,
of course.
You know, this is one of those moments when I'm very much glad for the SCI pause the game while you're typing feature.
Like people, fuck, that was annoying when that didn't happen. Because you'd type push pulley and he'd be over at you and be like, "Aww."
And that was the sound of all possible point, quest, and story leaving the game. So let's get back to Xbox One.
Well, there we go. Game's over. Still got 600 odd points to go, but
still got another about 40 minutes of video to go.
Well, good.
So yes, Xbox One. What are they doing?
Well, I mean, because I read the contracts, and basically the original contracts were
the contract between
Machinima and the partner.
Yeah, the person making gameplay videos for
basically,
Machinima.
The fundamental principle is a consumer has a right to know if a message they're receiving is honest opinion of the individual presenting it or a paid influenced opinion. Yes. And it's okay, because like radio presenters, Johnny Carson used to do things where he'd turn to the screen and deliver an ad, but it was a paid ad, people knew it was a paid ad, and that knowledge makes it fair. You can ignore it if you want, you can listen to it if you want, you knew it was a paid ad.
Yes, get to the point.
Well, the thing was, the original contracts, and they did this for like fucking Comic-Con and shit like that, all had a little thing that you had to copy-paste and say, or put into the, description of your video, which was, this is a paid promotion. So that was fair. The new one for the Xbox One just uses this tag, which is like XBM13 or something along those lines. It's small, it's very fucking easy to not spot, and it has removed... So the changes are, it has removed the spoken or copy-pasted disclaimer and added a thing that you can't say anything negative or disparaging about either Machinima or the Xbox One or the game that you're discussing.
Yeah.
And also a non-disclosure agreement about that contract.
Now that's problematic.
That's where it gets dodgy, because that means the consumer can't... You know, they're really making it... They're obfuscating the fucking point, like the...
Well, this is what I've always said, that what I like about Let's Play is that it's an open to everyone culture of criticism.
Which marketing hates. They do. That's what the whole share button is all about. That's what all this stuff is all about, is to control the message.
I remember saying, I called this shit the moment PS4 mentioned that they had a built-in video capturing function and sharing device.
Not for the community.
So this isn't...
Community already exists.
This isn't about facilitating a culture of criticism. This is about controlling the message, controlling the conversation.
Because, I mean, how long do you think it's going to take before an actual fight starts about this, where someone, like, with the share button or whatever the Xbox One is, brags on a game?
Hey, Gabe, we're having lunch. Exciting space adventures, hope it never stops.
This reminds me of the bit in the end of Spaceballs where the chestburster does the fucking Hello My Baby song.
It is literally that. We've got nothing else to do, we're just having a burger.
Are you fucking serious?
Yeah, we're just going to eat a burger. This is the next thing we do.
Okay. An adventure game is sort of built around purpose. Like, you need that. Like, this isn't like something where there's no... Like, an adventure game doesn't have gameplay mechanics.
Don't talk down to me, you fat spod.
Polly cheese!
When I said there's no quest, there is sort of a way to get a quest. What happens is that there's an arcade machine in the restaurant. If you play it for way too long, because it's a shitty game, then eventually you get a coded message. And if you've got the decoder ring from the Happy Meal that we're buying now, then you can decode the message and it says, "Hello, we are the two programmers of this game," who are also, incidentally, the two programmers of Space Quest 3, Mark Crow and Scott Murphy. "We have been kidnapped by an evil software company called Scumsoft. Please come and rescue us." And then that's the quest. But you can still do this quest even if you haven't seen the coded message. And we're not going to see it now.
Why would you do that?
And we're not going to see the coded message now because I started trying to play the arcade machine and then thought, fuck it. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Yep, there's the decoder ring.
I don't know. I mean, this whole Microsoft Machinima thing is a bit like the way EA gets named like worst company of the year, despite the existence of
we should mention at this point that Microsoft did deny having any involvement in this contract, and it doesn't seem like that's something they'd lie about. I mean, if they
were trying to talk around the truth, I'd probably not believe them, but they sort of outright said that it was a Machinima contract.
Did you like the save file name I came up with there?
Westlison, Queensland.
Yes, this is the game. It's basically Lunar Lander, but incredibly horribly designed. Basically, if you don't start right in the middle, you're kind of fucked. Case in point. Yeah, I was...
Fuck that.
Yeah, exactly. You have to play that for I don't know how long. Like, it seemed like 10 minutes.
Because, okay, here's the thing. How would you ever deduce or...
Well, that's not a dictionary I'd want, then. Never mind, carry on.
Oh, yeah, this is like, how would you ever figure out that that's where you're supposed to get your quest from?
You can't. I mean, I never knew playing this game first. I just went like, oh, here's a planet where stuff's happening. I guess I'm going along with this now.
So this is why I stopped playing this one. I went on to, like, Space Quest 5.
I still say Space Quest 4 is worse, though.
And see, my problem is I know I'm blurring Space Quests. Like, they're all sort of fusing into one guy. So I can't remember which bits are from what fucking game.
Well, Space Quest 5 is, for me, hands down the best.
Which one's 5? What happened in 5?
In Space Quest 5, you join the Academy and become a captain.
Yes, okay, that's the one that I'm thinking of. Yes. Although I'm sure there are bits that I'm fucking mixing around.
Because that too had sort of organic galactic exploration and also sort of an element of menu-based management space management game.
Space management.
While also having the adventure game.
It's like EVE Online. It's a job that you play.
Exactly.
That's why I want to get my dad into it, because I honestly believe he would absolutely love being a space miner. Like, he would just... The idea that there's loads of other people and it's all, like, sort of real, that's still, like, that's sci-fi to him. He'd love that.
I've been meaning to ask, is your dad that guy in that steroid advert I keep seeing on Facebook? The man with the incredibly ripped chest and massive full beard.
Dad used to look... Like, there's a picture of him that I put up on Twitter because he used to look exactly like Alan Moore. And I really wanted to swap them around, because Dad's really, really, really social and personable and loves talking to people and is very friendly. So you could swap them, and, like, Alan Moore could live in obscurity and not have anyone bother him, and Dad would wander about talking about comics that he hasn't written and probably no one would call him on.
And now we're on a volcano planet because I don't know.
So yeah, aside from Machinima being dick sacks.
They are dick sacks.
Yeah.
And,
well, I mean, again, like, this isn't like the end of the fucking world. EA is not the worst company in the world. They just got shitty customer service. Or customer relations, I probably should say. And this isn't like, you know, this isn't a fucking disaster in terms of, you know, anything. It's just, it's just dickish. Like, this isn't the end of the world. It's just a...
Well, you know, it's just another transgression that we're just going to accept, and then they'll just go even further with the next one.
Well,
this is our life now.
Just be aware of it and, you know, ignore it, I think.
I suppose. But it's, you know, it's worrying how little respect. Fuck you, game. Underpants is a word.
Yeah.
If I'd said pants, I could understand your confusion. But I said underpants. I was being especially specific. What was I talking about?
How little respect.
Oh yes, how little respect gaming journalism gets as a field. And I know your feelings about the word game journalism. Like, the culture of games writing, let's say, game reviewing.
Well, no, I'll qualify my problem
See,
with
look at that picture, fucking hell.
That's pretty grim.
Yeah.
I'll qualify my problem with games journalism as, it's not that... People have, like, used it as a way of bragging. You know, when literally all you have to do is fart an opinion onto a blog and you're a games journalist. It's like if the magic ray made us all surgeons and there were still people walking around going, I'm a surgeon. And it's
you're not a professional one.
Well...
No one's paying you to fart onto
I mean,
your
again,
blog.
the line between that... I mean, hell, I could start a fucking Machinima contract.
I think there's a pretty clear line between professional game journalists and non-professional. It's the line is how much money you got paid for it.
Well, yeah, but again, you don't have to apply for anything. Like, I mean, any idiot could sign up for that fucking Machinima thing.
Here's some more sterling puzzle design. How do we get past these guys?
You know, like, journalism used to be there used to be a much more significant professional barrier between what was and what isn't a journalist. And it was a big thing that happened like 6 years ago, fucking 8 years ago now, when the blogs first started cropping up in traditional sort of journalism. You know, this was back when Life magazine was still a thing.
Well,
it was
that
back before
didn't work.
Well, yeah, that's, you know, back before the collapse of, like, you know, what you'd call traditional journalism, because I
feel like we're talking at cross purposes here.
Yeah. I studied journalism for 2 years, so this is...
I'm trying to express what a dumb puzzle this is.
This isn't a text... What?!
Yeah,
Fuck you!
I dispute that.
Yeah, this isn't a text adventure.
Yeah, actually, the puzzle here is to wait.
Some
puzzle
fucking
here,
dataist shit there.
The puzzle here to get rid of these men is to wait. And if it had been a full text adventure, we could have just been able to type wait like 3 times.
That's...
I know what you're thinking. Upping the game speed wouldn't have reduced the amount of time you have to wait. That was the weird thing about these games.
Well, then, again, how do you... It's one of those ones where, when you see a scene in a game like this, you don't expect time to be real. Like, none of these games have, like, a real-time thing. So when a wait is a...
Now, if we'd seen the coded message, that text would have been different.
Yeah.
It would have said, that's the thing we have to deactivate. I'm going to assume you knew what that message said.
I don't know. Well, we just don't know.
Yep. So in the context of the game, we have just seen a thing and decided we're going to blow it up for larks.
Terrorism! It's fucking fun!
Terrorism,
all the cool kids do it.
We have never seen... and I've played a lot of adventure games where you try something and the character goes, I got no reason to do that.
Yeah.
And how poorly designed that piece of dialogue now seems when you look at the context of this game. You got no reason to blow up this thing. We're doing it anyway.
Yeah.
Because it's there.
I'm not the boss of you. Go nuts. What are you blowing it up with?
But yeah, you're right that there's problems with game journalism. I mean, this kind of things publishers get away with when trying to control games journalism would get
fucking
get a film
crucified
producer,
anywhere else.
would get a film company, getting them run out of town on a rail.
I think it's the industry of gaming and the art of gaming have always been so closely intertwined that.
Well, not in more recent years.
No, well, I mean that's the thing. It's only just now starting to get to the point where any person can pick up a thing and actually make and produce a game and put it into a place where it can get published. And that's the thing.
That's another message that changes if you've seen the message. It just says, "Dope, someone's going to be angry about this." I don't know who, but for some reason I don't like
a bunch of
them.
people. That'll be fine. They're all right. What was the other douchebag thing we were going to complain about? Oh yeah, King.com.
Oh yes, the Candy Crush lads who've decided to try to put a copyright on the word saga. I thought it was a rule that you couldn't copyright words.
No,
like
here's
that.
the thing: they don't have the copyright yet.
No,
and they're going around acting like they do and sending out loads of legal threats, which is copyright trolling, and I fucking hate that.
Well, the thing is, you don't actually have to apply the copyright. You just have to put a C copyright at the end of it, and then the year. And then it's basically considered protected in the eyes of the law.
Huh, really?
Yeah.
Is that internet? What?
I mean, you can patent a title. You can make a registered trademark of it. But
so it's a trademark. That's
yeah. You can get they've tried to register the trademarks of the word saga, but you can't. But you can copyright it just by writing copyright on it.
Huh.
As long as credited, that will hold up in a court of law.
That's ridiculous.
No, it makes sense.
No, well, I mean, just for something like saga.
Well, yeah,
trying to trademark the word fucking saga. That's ridiculous. That's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a word in common parlance.
I mean, even Candy is fucking pushing it.
So they're trying to sue the lads who made Banner Saga, isn't it? Which is a Viking game, and
Why is that lolly wearing a beard?
What?
Well, that's what they're presuming is that I'm gonna get fucking Candy Crush Saga and fucking Banner Saga confused.
Okay. Yeah,
that's
never going to hold them in a court of law, but they're just making
dicks.
illegal threats so that to try and scare them into
what exactly? What
I mean, do they really think Banner Saga is in competition with
them?
Yeah,
that's the thing is anyone out there going, oh hey, Banner Saga, that must be the new Candy Crush Saga update? Because honestly, anyone who thinks that probably eats shoes for dinner.
I mean, it makes no sense because realistically speaking, it's not their competitor.
No, what are they gaining from this?
All they're gaining is
looking like dicks.
A loss of goodwill, aren't they?
And boy howdy, I hope they just get drilled into the ground for this one because it is an absolutely dickish thing to do. And
I mean,
they're hitting loads of small people too for whom a legal threat's a bit actually scary.
Well, you could argue that they're very popular with the general audience, the housewife sort of audience who don't really read about the news attached to these things and just play it oblivious.
Yeah.
So and they don't give a shit what kind of horrible dealings the company's been doing. So
probably not.
I guess that's the point where you don't care, is it, about goodwill? But I say in today's internet days, you're on very shaky ground to let your goodwill go to waste.
God help you if a bored housewife does get a bee in her bonnet about not liking you, because she's got time.
Roger's hair is longer. Magic. Look at him, he's gone mullet head on us.
That reminds me, I need a fucking haircut. Hair grows too quickly.
Actually, his hairdo from the front reminds me of David Mitchell's hairdo. So, yes, this is the evil company who have captured the two guys from Andromeda, as they are called in the credits of these games. So we nicked an invisibility belt from that Terminator we killed earlier.
Oh, okay, cool. Enter Scumsoft.
Yes.
Not.
Yes, we're just done. We were just so tense at that sequence of getting past the guards.
Cinematic, man.
Yeah.
Fucking cinematic.
Yeah, crazy.
I don't know. I mean, it is perplexing. It's like walking over and just kicking a baby. It's like the baby's not in competition with you for anything. I don't understand what you hope to gain from this.
Well, maybe he's got some candy that you want to crush.
Baby Crush Saga.
See how well that works.
And what bugs me is, while that bullshit's going on. If you looked in the list of, like, mobile app games that just use, like, photoshopped Mario Kart pictures and shit like that, or just use other people's fucking property constantly, and, nothing ever fucking happens, nobody gives a shit, because you have to be fucking 8 ways dense to be that confused.
Well, who cares about people nicking Nintendo's assets? They can afford it. So now we've just gone to a whole different art style for a second here.
Cool. I've always wanted to see a game that, like, sort of changes graphics and gameplay styles.
What, like Killer 7?
Well, yeah, but that was kind of like a little, that was just a sort of...
Well, why don't you just play 2 games, one after the next?
Well, because I prefer
Personally, I like games that elegantly integrate their mechanics. I was thinking about this earlier when I was thinking of, like, the combat in the Prince of Persia Sands of Time trilogy. Because the same wall running move you'd use to access ledges could also be used to, like, flip over a pursuing enemy and slice them in the arse or in the ankles as you did.
I think that's Prince of Persia is a real good example of how to update a old step platformer.
Now here's an annoying sequence. We're disguised as a janitor because Roger Wilco is one. But if we walk past a trash can full of waste paper, someone will just instantly twig that we're an imposter and have us killed.
So it's a stupid arcadey kind of maze sequence?
Sort of, yeah. But they're really vindictive about what constitutes ignoring a trash can, as you can see. Maybe I was just, like, off to get a cup of tea before I started vaporizing.
Maybe I'll start at the top and working my way back. That way, I wouldn't have to retrace my steps with a bunch of trash. Like, why would you carry the trash all the way to the distant one, only to have to walk back with it?
Maybe it's just because everyone knows what the usual janitor looks like. But if you do one slightly weird thing, everyone suddenly looks at you and realizes you're an imposter. I don't know, I don't want to make excuses for this game.
We're overanalyzing. See, I thought the one to the right would have got you killed too.
No, I guess they're accepting that there are a couple of things to take care of. Naturally, you shouldn't try to talk to anyone, because you're a janitor.
Filthy help. Oh, there's more. God, this is great.
So, fuck corporations. Well, this is quite relevant, actually. Fuck corporations, this... What the fuck? After I vaporized the trash, it, like, pushed me 2 pixels upwards.
Yeah, that's all. That was great. Triggered it.
I think that guy just felt like being a dick.
Yeah, he failed the girl last night, so now he's just going to take it out on someone beneath him.
Yeah.
It's like that bit in A Stranger in a Strange Land where Michael Valentine Smith finally laughs, because the middle-sized ape goes and beats on the littler ape.
See, the whole point of this latter section of the game is that this is the point where the creators of the game are kind of getting a bit up themselves. Because this whole thing is like a satire on the corporate game development environment. And we'll see later on how up itself this game gets.
Really? It gets worse?
Do you remember the end of this game?
I have not played Space Quest in, like, 3.
I would think if you'd seen the ending of this game, you would remember the ending of this game. Oh, goody gumdrops. This will be something to look forward to.
I don't know, like, again, that they've all blurred into it. Like, I realized that when I was playing this, well, when the video started, and I expected something to happen, but it turns out that was a bit from, like, Space Quest 5.
Yeah, you're asking way too much for something to happen here.
No, but, I got... Yeah.
I think this is like a riff on Bill Gates, because it was the 80s. So we're photocopying the picture of the boss because we need to fool a facial recognition scanner.
Oh, of course.
Puzzles.
They're what adventure games are about.
For someone who hates singing, you seem to fall back on that a lot.
It's easy. It's an easy way of making just noise that people understand as jokes. The amount of times I'll say something facetiously and people think I'm being serious is getting frustrating. I should have a little bike horn that I just squeeze.
Actually, Elmo is another character who shows up in Space Quest 6. He's a bum who you have to get some brandy for at the start of the game. Do you remember?
Oh, yeah!
Yeah, he's that guy.
I don't know, I didn't hate Space Quest 6.
Yeah, like I said, I remember liking bits of it, but there was a lot of dumb shit in there as well.
Well, yeah.
I don't think it compares to Space Quest 5.
Yeah. It's been too long since I've played either to have a real concrete opinion one way or the other.
The one thing I did like about Space Quest 6 was the sheer density of funny dialogues. You could look at everything in the room
That's true.
And that guy doing the voice would have a line for you.
That guy, yeah.
That was where the good writing was. The bad writing was in like the conversations between characters as part of to move the plot along.
Yeah, when you're
particularly between Roger Wilco and his love interest. That shit was awful. Perhaps we should let's play that some point so I can point it out.
We should.
But it is quite an arduous game.
When you're in the dude's store and you can look at the brain labeled Abby Normal, and then the voiceover guy just goes, "Good night." Oh God, what was his name? Guy with the bug eyes, British comedian who played Igor in Young Frankenstein.
Oh, I know.
Marty Feldman.
Marty Feldman. I was about to say that.
Yeah,
I was about to show how smart I was.
He shouts out, "Good night, Mr. Feldman, wherever you are."
Oops, we missed the trash bin. I think if you miss the trash can 3 times, that's another...
Of course.
That's
I'm surprised they gave you 3.
That's another capital offence.
You suppose it'll ever get like this? Like if the human population is spread across numerous planets, and the population totals like 40 trillion. Do you think we'll give a shit about one dude?
Well, that's the whole premise of Warhammer 40k, from what I understand.
Yeah, in the grim dark future, there is only war. I like the Tau, my little space commies that are slightly less douchey than everybody else.
See, I'm kind of filled with contempt for Warhammer 40k
Why?
because it just seems so, we're so tough.
Okay.
Oh, things are extreme. Space Marines are like they devote their entire lives to the cause and glory of battle and blah de blah.
Well, yeah, but I mean, anyone who doesn't like the Space Marines just makes fun of them for being like space Catholics worshipping a dead god.
I'm just cynical about any kind of aggressive passion in that kind of format. I mean, that's probably because I grew up on Red Dwarf. Well, I didn't quite remember what you're supposed to do here. I knew it couldn't have been that complicated.
When an employee comes along, you must whip it.
Yeah, that's more satire of the games industry. That's like the programming department. Although I don't know what Sierra's talking about. There was like 3 people programmed this game.
This was back when you people would still say that a game was written.
Yes.
Like I kind of miss that a little bit. I mean, I suppose it's not really an appropriate term for it these days, but...
See, that's all you had to do. Leave the room and come back in. Of course.
I hate those puzzles. Like, why would that have an effect? Like, that's...
I don't know. Well, it would have effect in the real world. He might have gone off for a piss.
Yeah.
Huh. That guy on the left with the whip. He had brown hair and had a brown moustache. Might want to tuck that away in the back of your mind.
Dun dun dun. Foreshadowing.
Anyway. Yeah, now we've got everything we need to get into the other door that was in that circular corridor back there.
Oh, cool. That circular corridor is horrible.
Yeah, the whole vibe of this game, I get, is we're kind of a little bit overworked and slightly bitter about our lives. let's just we're obligated to make a game. Let's just hammer something out.
It's okay. I'm guessing you're going.
I fucking hate these doors.
Yeah, I was gonna.
Yeah, there we go.
There we go.
Brain-taxing puzzle there.
Almost.
In previous Space Quest games, they were really, really uppity about what phrasing they would accept.
Because that was just being dicks. Like that, there wasn't any reason for that, but to artificially extend the puzzle.
I remember Space Quest 1 in particular was bad like that. You had to press a button on a panel that opened the cargo bay doors in Space Quest 1, and the only command it would accept was something like press open bay doors button. Not press button. No, that wasn't enough. Never mind, there was only one button on the fucking panel.
Yeah, it was like the fucking Hitchhiker's Guide adventure game that you had to type look in a room 3 times and it would tell you several times, nah, there's nothing in here.
So I seem to remember to extend the bridge you type press button, but I couldn't find like anything to look at that would reveal that there was a button there.
Nothing in this says there's a button.
No. Well, it says an array of buttons adorns each door, so I guess you're just supposed to assume.
Oh, there we go. That's great.
So
that reminds me of that Halloween Harry, or not the Halloween Harry, the Hugo's Who Done It, where you just had to walk down.
You keep making that mistake, don't you? I remember you making it before. Hey, it's the 2 guys from Andromeda. Mark Crow and Scott Murphy.
They're responsible for this shit.
They have inserted themselves into their own game because they have small egos. Stop coughing.
I just swallowed a whole giant cockroach.
Yeah, watch out for those.
I love Brisbane cockroaches because foreigners don't understand, like particularly like British people particularly, because it's cold, so you don't get cockroaches in England unless, you know, your house is filthy as fuck and you really harbour them.
Yeah,
Whereas here, you can get, like, these fucking hand-sized fucking flying monstrosities really easily.
I remember talking to someone who was confused about that you didn't see many cockroaches in Britain. I never saw one in Britain until I came here. But because they'd listened to the song Common People by Pulp, which contains the line... what's the line? Still, you'll never get it right, because when you're laying there at night watching roaches climb the wall, you can phone your dad and he'll stop it all. But,
I think Pulp songs are a great way of getting cultural information about the world.
But they were confused about that, because you don't really see roaches in Britain.
No, well, again, it's cold. Whereas here, again, you're doing well to not have them ever in your house.
Anyway,
they fly, they're fucking big.
Anyway, we've been captured by Bill Gates, and he's... And what he's going to do, he's going to force us to fight him in a giant robot arena. Because...
This looks like it's going to be way less fun than it should be.
Well, we know how much we all love those mandatory arcade sequences in adventure games, don't we?
Punch, M key to block. Oh, I bet this is going to be really responsive. This will be like... This will be Street Fighter 3 Third Strike grade fight.
Yeah, this is really fucking fiddly.
Ah, they're called the Nukem Duke robots.
You see, it's not Rock'em Sock'em robots.
Yeah.
And, yeah. Basically, every time you punch, you lose energy. Every time you get punched, you lose energy. Every time you punch him when he's blocking, you lose energy. And if you block too many times...
you lose energy.
And, yeah, if you block too many times in a row, you also lose energy. The only way to gain energy is to land a hit. And as you can see, I'm shit at this.
I should teach you to play Street Fighter 3 Third Strike.
Because he keeps fainting.
Parry!
Because he keeps fainting you, the asshole. So there, I just killed myself from blocking. And now we're dead, somehow. Yeah, I guess we just banged our head on the floor.
That's the sixth Doctor death.
That's how good we are at staying alive.
Oh, that fucking hit detection. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, it's an arse and a half.
I hate this shit. I hate that there'd be this grim fucking sinking feeling in the pit of your stomach when you came across one of these arcade sequences in an adventure game, because it was literally like, there's a good chance I won't finish this.
Of course, in like every Space Quest game after this, they were very good about letting you skip the arcade sequences, which raised the question of why they put them in there in the first place, but never mind. See,
Give the illusion of fucking gameplay.
See, here I thought being aggressive might be the way.
Well, you did doing a lot better than you were last time.
Yeah, but then he just turns it around on me, and now I'm dead.
Well, it's...
I think I cut this out after a while.
It's shit.
It is all of those things you just said.
Yeah. God, that was the big problem with Full Throttle.
Yes, it was absolutely full of the mandatory arcade sequences.
Because I've got it on my phone, and I love playing it, but the motorcycle combat sequences are impossible to do on a touchscreen, so I've just given up and gone back to fucking...
You know, when I had the Space Quest collection on the CD, they actually had a separate game that was just all the arcade mini-games from the games.
Why? Why would you play that?
I know.
That's fucking weird. That's like getting a DVD of just Gears of War cutscenes.
Yeah, we've skipped ahead now. And now he's like smashed a hole in the wall.
I really see what you mean about this complete absence of purpose and drive to this game. That
was basically it. I mean, there's a few things left to do.
How come he gets to live?
Well, because he's not a complete spaz, apparently, like Roger Wilco, who can kill himself by falling off a 3-foot high ledge. There was some of that in
Space... Goes to pick his nose and gets his thumb in his eye instead.
There was a bit of that in Space Quest 2 as well, as I recall.
All Sierra games. The fucking hell, Manhunter. Everything fucking kills you always. And I don't mean like obvious, like don't do that shit. Fucking everything.
Yeah, Leisure Suit Larry if you're trying to cross the street.
Boom. Car hits you.
Yep, now we have rescued the two Mary Sues.
What are we going to do about this? This is kind of like adaptation, how like Charlie Kaufman put himself in his own game.
So that is exactly what this game is like.
Yeah, so they're like, how are we going to make Space Quest 3? How about, like, it's kind of like how Leisure Suit Larry 5 was looking for Leisure Suit Larry 4 that just doesn't exist.
Yes, of course, that's as everyone knows, there was no Leisure Suit Larry 4, because Leisure Suit Larry 3 ended in a way that kind of precluded any way one could write out of it.
Well,
so they couldn't be asked to... hey, look at him breaking the fourth wall there.
$59.95? People would spend $60 on this?
Yeah, I remember them making the same joke in Monkey Island. At the end, you could say, never spend more than $50 on a computer game.
No. Well, again, I think it's that thing of just, I only buy shit on, Steam sales now.
Oh, here's the space combat.
This looks fun!
Basically, it tells you where the target's coming, you arrange your shields accordingly, then you track the ship.
Oh, so it's not really arcadey, you just gotta wait and...
Well, you move the crosshairs around,
okay.
then you press fire, and that's all there is to it.
Oh, fuck, this is actually a lot better than I thought it was gonna be.
Then you do that a few more times, and then you've won.
Is that the end of the game?
Yeah.
Are you
Yep.
How much time has the video got left?
Well, I put a little extra thing on the end of the video,
okay.
I should mention at this point.
Alrighty.
But we've got the whole ending sequence to go through.
Secrets.
Which I
yeah, I'm with you. This game sucks monkey nuts.
Yep, because nothing happens.
Nothing happens. Yeah,
I do like kind of like this, like the space exploration, the space battles. I wish they'd put it in more organically. Like,
yeah,
if you could be attacked anywhere, maybe, and like explore different planets and achieve different things. Side quests, make it Quest for Glory style.
It was 1989.
Well, this was after Quest for Glory, wasn't it? Oh, no, wait. First Quest for Glory game would have been SCI, and this was like an early SCI game.
Yeah.
So this was probably before Quest for Glory.
This is what I mean. Like, I used to be fucking good at dating my fucking adventure games, but I'm all over the shop these days.
Perhaps we should look it up on the iPad.
It's not out. We weren't using topics really, remember?
Well,
actual stuff happened this week, so we didn't have to write anything down.
Well, I had it on hand anyway.
It was actual stuff that I have a moderate education in.
Yeah, this.
It serves to study marketing and media at uni if you have an elective, because it's a good way of it's an interesting way of finding out like the attitudes that marketing has toward human beings, because it's fucking disturbing.
Not a great one.
No, it's weird. There are cool hunters. There are people literally paid to go to concerts and draw people.
Well,
it's fucking insane.
The thing is, you can't really ascribe this to evil. Corporations just do the
amoral is probably...
Corporations just do the thing that brings them the most money.
Yeah.
That's the only thing you can trust them to do. Within the law, obviously.
No.
Well, to an extent.
Yeah. If the cost of getting caught is less than the cost of doing it right, they will do the wrong thing.
Oh, well, yes, there is that.
Simple fucking economics.
So the warp drive isn't working, so we can't go get a burger. Over one of the Mary Sues is going to save the day and fix this thing without having to move from his chair, because then we'd have to animate him.
Great.
Space Quest 3.
Space Quest. Let's go grab a burger.
I like how when you Google, the first link is always Wikipedia.
That is nice.
Incidentally, I bought this on Good Old Games for $3, along with the first two Space Quests.
Yeah, Good Old Games is good for stuff like that.
Okay, this came out in 1989.
Yeah, it said that at the start.
Right, and Loom.
God, Loom was good.
Yes, now we're speeding through warp space to an unknown destination. Woo!
It's not to say Loom was completely without its bullshit, but it was a really fun game with a really interesting sort of puzzle mechanic. The way you could play tunes backward.
Yeah, what I remember clearly about Loom is that it had no inventory. It was a graphic adventure game with no inventory. You just had to pick the right spell to use.
Songs, and you play the song backwards and they do the reverse. And
Loom came out after this. It was January 1990.
Huh.
So I think the previous...
Loom even looks much better than this. You can get Loom on Steam,
Yeah, the previous LucasArts game before this was Zack McCracken and the Alien Mindbenders, I think.
God, no, I can barely even remember that.
No, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade was just before Loom.
Oh.
I know the ship is arriving in a parallel universe. I wonder where we will end up. Can you see where this is leading?
Guessing, yeah. I wonder if they're going to go to the Sierra offices.
Yeah, spoiler alert, you're completely right. You see, Sierra went through a kind of phase.
Yeah.
I mean, this is exactly the same way Leisure Suit Larry 3 ends, and is the reason why they couldn't think of a way to write out of it. So they just skipped Leisure Suit Larry 4 and went straight to Leisure Suit Larry 5. As Leisure Suit Larry 3 ends with you going through a portal and meeting Roberta Williams, and she gives you a job making Sierra adventure games.
Why do they do this so much?
This game, conversely, ends with meeting Ken Williams, Roberta Williams' husband and owner of Sierra, and he hires these men to make adventure games.
Software authors. So I love the old term of software being written. It's just...
Yes.
It's a quaint thing you don't hear much.
It kind of reminds me of when I used to read 2000 AD. And the whole... Hello,
I love when online had a hyphen. That's so old-timey. We're on the line.
Hello, I'm Ken Williams, president and founder of Sierra Online. We've all had a lot of fun today, but there's a serious message behind this. That's the kind of vibe I get from that.
Yeah. Sentence. Jobs in software. Yeah.
Jobs in
games programming. Make money, have chicks.
Always check your employment contract carefully before.
Also, help me, God. Well, do you need it? I don't know.
And there's a dialogue box coming up that I think typifies everything. There, Roger feeling a little left out. Just those words. He felt a little bit left out. I'm right there with you, Roger Wilco. And you just compare this to LucasArts adventure games.
Yeah, I know. It really... Loom. Fucking Loom.
Games that had actual stories and characters with motivations and agendas and drama and relationships but it was also... Personality, and it was fun at the same time.
It didn't do this shit.
And you wonder why these guys were ever considered serious competitors.
Because there's literally that circumstance of there was two.
Well, it was just the quantity versus quality thing, wasn't it?
I mean, well, there were a few other, companies making stuff, like,
Perhaps if LucasArts had forced themselves to make 6 Monkey Islands, those have gotten a bit shit as well.
Yeah, I didn't like the sort of, I mean, as nice as Monkey Island 4 and, Grim Fandango were, I kind of wasn't a huge fan.
I wasn't big into Monkey Island 4. I think I rated Monkey Island 3 higher.
Monkey Island 3 is, I think, the best.
Serious?
The best one. Yeah.
I think you can't beat Monkey Island 1. The thing about Monkey Island 1 is that there's a whole bunch of rooms in that game that you go to and there's nothing in there. And that's what made me think of when I was playing Broken Age and a lot of new adventure games, is that everything's so streamlined.
Purposeful, yeah.
There's just like this one place that only has one purpose. There's no characters just in there for fun.
Well, I mean, my problem with the modern ones and the modern Telltale adventure games is there's just click.
Yeah.
Like a fucking drinking bird could finish these games. Like, that's not okay. Like, in the old one, you had to think, am I pushing, am I doing? And they could make little tricks with that. Like,
yeah, like...
had to put your mouth on a balloon and shit like that.
Yes. And there was that business in Monkey Island 1 where you had to push a rock onto a little seesaw device to make another rock fly up. And you had to, like, push and pull the device a certain number of ways before it would be in the right position.
That's what. Now it's just click and it just automatically does what it has to do, which really reduces the fucking puzzles. It's dull. I fucking
surprised they didn't put their wives into this sodding game.
They've probably specifically asked not to be embarrassed in such a way. $60. The things we used to spend money on. Well, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's worth it. If you go on to good old games, a lot of these things, when they're on the sale especially, are kind of worth it.
Oh, here's what I put on the end. Me playing Astro Chicken and hoping to get the code screen so I could at least demonstrate it. But I wasn't going to put this in the middle of the video, fuck that. Because obviously there were more exciting adventures we could be watching.
Okay, so you bounce off of it if you hit it too hard.
Yep.
And I'm guessing that this is finicky as shit.
Bacock.
Batcock.
Bacock, exclaimed Astro Chicken.
God, I'd be proud of this game too. Who wouldn't be?
This is pretty awful.
I'm annoyed you didn't put this in the middle. We should have been discussing this. This is actually far more. This has explosions. Fucking things happen.
Yeah.
Space Quest 3 is just depressingly bad. Because now I'm going back in my head, I was like, I love Sierra adventure games. It's like, wait.
Wait, did you?
Did I?
Did you really?
Or was it just because it was literally the only game I had on my PC at the time? It was just like, I'll play game.
Good question.
The game, it's my favorite because it fucking exists.
You know, if anything, the Leisure Suit Larry 3 ending is even more excruciating than this one was.
Because it was Like, at least they have an excuse for, you know...
Char-
Sci-fi has a better excuse for an interdimensional portal opening up.
I mean, at least in this game, you know, there's not the sort of... Well, in the Inner Legends of Larry 3, the characters are really fucking gushing over Roberta Williams. They're like, "Oh my god, you're my video game hero," and you're just grinding your teeth. You want to do what's colloquially known as a Technicolor yawn.
I want to. But back when, you know, people in video games weren't famous.
I used to think you had to succeed at this game enough times before you get the code, but it turns out you just have to play it enough, and then the code comes up.
Huh.
But my question is, why would you then go and rescue the guys who left the code when that could have been put there like 30 years ago? This could be like
that's the least of the problems of this game's story and drive.
Well, yes, but you know, there is precious little plot to go on, and this is a massive hole in that plot.
What drives me insane is these games have one thing. One fucking job. It's like opening a book and there just being a picture of a middle finger.
And it's even in the title.
Yeah.
Quest. There should be a quest in it.
Yeah.
If you do nothing else, put a quest in there.
Because that was the thing. Console games had gameplay because they were like hard programmed, small, and arcadey. These had story because there is no fucking gameplay. And no, this and the robot fucking fight do not count.
Yes.
Story. That was the neat thing. That was the twin fucking pillars of gaming in this era. There was the gameplay side, and then there were the people who were working on story and narrative. And then after a while, they fucking converged. It was amazing.
Well, that's the history of gaming, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it starts with the consoles on the one side, which is local multiplayer focused, quick arcadey experiences. The offspring of the arcade gameplay, arcade games. And then there was the PC gaming, which was catered more to, you know, the older, more intellectual crowd who had a patience for the kind of things you needed, the kind of hoops you had to jump through to do PC gaming.
Because there was less programming. You could just draw a thing and, you know...
Yeah, and in this case, that they had more thoughtful games, more story-focused, RPGs, text adventures, and strategy games.
All you needed was art and an idea.
And because of memory shortage, it tended to be the case that you could either have an in-depth story or in-depth gameplay, but you couldn't really do both. And then games have just been sort of moving to meet each other halfway ever since. So the consoles started embracing online multiplayer, which I think history will prove to be a mistake.
I mean, it's weird now you can sit down with a console and go, "Oh, we can't play this together." Because that really used to be what it's for. Because, I mean, to this day, still playing local multiplayer on a PC is not an easy...
Yeah, I mean, the console, like, local multiplayer was where they shine. That's what the Wii used, and the Wii has always, like, gone for. And that's what made the big successes with the non-hardcore crowd.
Honestly, coming home from the bar with the other bar staff and playing... with just 3 bottles of gin and playing Wii Sports until 5 in the morning was fun.
I actually really loved the WarioWare games for like social settings.
Yeah, because they're just bite-sized. There's chunks so small, so brief.
I had a memorably enjoyable evening with a copy of WarioWare Smooth Moves on the Wii and a bottle of tequila and a bunch of mates.
It's fun. Like, the Wii was made for just drunk.
Yeah, it was made for drunk.
That should have been... There's their fucking ad campaign.
Yeah.
Wii, made for drunk.
Here's
a Wiimote fucking shot glass.
They came up with peripherals for everything else.
Yeah.
Might as well just put a big old whiskey dispenser that you could slot the controller into.
Imagine that. Like, you put it's a thing you put a bottle into, and it will... if you win, you get your fucking shot.
Yes.
That needs to exist. That'd be some fun. I mean, I don't even drink anymore, and I still say that'd be fun.
Yeah. Because you remember what it was like to be fun, but that man is dead, isn't he, Gabe?
You're such a great... You should be like an AA person, one of those sponsors.
Yeah.
And help people who've...
I just said, hello, welcome to the Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. Today we'll be learning how great alcohol is.
And how boring you are for trying to give it up.
Look, I brought a whole bunch of it in this bag. I'm just going to take nips from my hip flask while you all talk.
Yeah.
Spiced rum, my
fun
favorite.
in T-3 shots.
Yeah, I was surprised how surly I got how quickly last night while I was drinking neat rum.
Sentence of a rookie drinker.
That shit makes me surly fast.
No, okay, here's the thing.
It's nice to feel surly.
There is... Booze will not make your ass surly. It will not... There is no magic fucking alcohol that makes you, you know, an angry cunt. Like, your mood going into drinking is what will do that. You can drink 4 bottles of wine and be the same douchebag you are on a bottle of whiskey.
I do go out with the... There we go. I do go out with the
Is that even readable? I'd not even assume to...
You need to use the decoder ring.
Oh, right, I forgot that was there.
Unfortunately, apparently I used the wrong command and now we have to do it all over again. But
that's delicious.
Except we're not. Except we're not going to. Because that's the end of the video.
Yeah. Fuck you, Sierra.
Good old Space
Bunch
Quest
of
3.
anuses. Well, not current. What are current Sierra doing these days?
Are they even still around? I mean,
I'm sure they are.
I know they published Half-Life. That was the last significant thing I remember them doing.
Suppose the wax and wane of...
Well, perhaps I should look it up on this iPad I have in my hands.
We're going to go long on this one.
Right.
So you got drunken surly. I'm curious. Well, like drunken. How surly is surly? Because everyone has a different opinion of surly.
Well, a fan came up, and I think I was particularly surly there.
Yeah, but see,
I kind of felt bad about it when I got home.
But see, that's
because a guy came up and said, he said something like, "Sorry, I don't want to bother you while you're drinking," and then I interrupted him and said, "And yet here we are."
See, okay.
And then I actually genuinely felt bad about that.
Yeah, but it's part of your digital persona is a curmudgeonly, quality. And
well, yes,
it's kind of like when you meet professional wrestlers who are villains on TV, and I've heard them interviewed about this, where they kind of like being heels because it means you can tell people to fuck off, and people are like, oh, that's great. So as far as that person's concerned, evil Yahtzee from the internet was just mean to him, so now it's going to make him happy.
Sierra,
hopefully, maybe he'll go home and cry, I don't know.
Sierra Entertainment Incorporated was an American video game developer and publisher founded in 1979 as Online Systems by Ken and Roberta Williams. Blah 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 blah. Published a lot of things.
Because Yahtzee's really mean to people in real life. It's great to watch. I have to sit there and go, Yahtzee, be nice to the person sometimes.
Oh, they merged with Activision.
Well, there they go.
I think
that's kind of like merging with the Blob.
Yeah. Oh, actually, their parent company was Vivendi Universal Games.
Yeah.
And Vivendi merged with Activision to form Activision Blizzard. So Sierra's part of that fucking labyrinthine.
That Cthulhian monstrosity of... Like, it doesn't really... Like, what does it matter what fucking name you put on shit once you're part of that fucking homogenous blob?
Who cares?
It's terrifying.
But, if you're listening, man, I was surly too last night.
Of course he's listening.
I guess I regret that. But, now you'll know not to do it again.
This is why, Yahtzee goes to the bar that he's, quasi-famous for having something to do with and yells at people for saying nice things to him.
It's part of the experience, man.
Fair enough.
Good night, everybody.
Toodaloo.
Just hottie, yes. And basically, James Bond porking a hottie is the equivalent of hypersleep in science fiction. It's just the state they're in when the camera goes off them.
My penis is going to be in suspended animation.
Yes, at the end of Space Quest 2, Roger Wilco, who actually wasn't called that at the time, you could choose your own name in Space Quest 2, but if you just pressed enter without entering anything, it would default to Roger Wilco. So now he's just Roger Wilco.
Yeah.
At the end of Space Quest 2, you destroyed the evil fortress of the Evil Vo Hall. And you put yourself into hypersleep, and now you've drifted into an unknown region of space, and your pod's been picked up by an automated garbage freighter.
Graphics like this were a big deal back in '89.
Whoa, space adventures, excitement. Well, it is 16 colours still, like the AGI games were, but there's much more of the... What do you call that, when they alternate different colours to try to simulate a third colour?
Shading? I don't know. I'm not an artist. I don't know shit.
There is a special word for it.
Last person you should be asking is me.
I will look that up.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? The console games didn't... That was the big split at the time between console games and PC games, was the PC games would have these big sort of shots like that. The kind of cartoon, moments. And they could do, just hand-drawn pixel bits where the eyes would open and stuff, whereas apparently, again, I'm not an expert on this particular point, but apparently,
sprites in, your NES and consoles and stuff would often have to be, hard-coded and stuff.
That's hard-coded sprites. So they couldn't do shit like this.
I know they were on Commodore 64, I know that much. I used to program in that a bit. You just had to enter, grid references for where all the pixels were on a sprite.
Mm.
But, this would have actually been made with art programs. There's a program you can get, SCI Edit, where you can like break in and edit SCI games. There was equivalent one for AGI.
Space Quest with dicks.
There was equivalent one for AGI, and I used to do a thing where I'd take old AGI games and replace the main character with another one and change all the dialogue to be really facetious.
Curious.
Which was more.
Find those now. Yeah, they have those sitting around yet.
It was more fun when you did that with King's Quest games, which took themselves seriously. It was less so. One thing I did do was I broke into the first Leisure Suit Larry, and you know where you have sex with a prostitute, there's a censor bar. I took the censor bar off and animated them fucking instead.
Of course you did.
I'd
fucking course you did.
I'd felt cheated by that for years.
That's how you can tell Yahtzee's a creative soul. As most other people would have just found a way to see boot.
Find interesting about it. I mean, when you compare, I always find Sierra versus LucasArts were the big adventure players, but Sierra was all about quantity, whereas LucasArts was all about quality.
Yeah.
They'd make a few games, and they were all really incredibly solid games.
Yeah.
But Sierra,
and they didn't kill you all the fucking
Sierra
time.
made like 6 of every single franchise they did.
Yep.
And with games like this, you just feel like they're just kind of in a circling pattern, you know?
Well, I mean, how... Well, then if this is all just made essentially with a verb thing and art, then... Probably wouldn't have been too much hassle to just pump these things out, essentially.
I guess not. I mean, you saw how what a tiny, small credit screen there was at the start of this.
I'm trying to think of... When was LucasArts first active? Like 89? When was... Like, this was made in 89. What's something LucasArts would have been making around this era?
Oh, God.
So I'm trying to think of what this would be comparable to.
Maybe...
Were they even active? Like, I'm really bad with my 90s adventure games, and I put them either way too early or way too late.
I'm not sure, actually. Maybe they'd be making shit like Loom.
Oh, yeah. Loom's a better game.
Maybe Zack McCracken and the Alien Mindbenders. Maybe the Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade adventure game.
Oh, yeah, that was quite early.
Yeah,
Indiana Jones and Fate of Atlantis is one of my favorites.
Well, yeah, that's why everyone forgets about Last Crusade, I think.
Everyone, that was the Last Crusade. I remember I was playing Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones Last Crusade had the unenviable task of recreating an action film as an adventure game.
Yeah, arcade sequences. Kind of hard to do. But, like,
I should probably explain what we're doing here.
Oh,
We're trying to escape from the junk freighter. We need to find a ship that's in enough working order that we can escape in it.
Yeah, see, that's not signposted remarkably well.
Nah, well, I guess it's implied, you know. You're trapped in this thing, therefore get out of this thing. That's the story for the ages. We can all get behind.
Trap in thing, escape thing.
When you talk about point and click adventures, though, this isn't technically point and click.
This is mouse and.
Well, there is a mouse, but it's there for no reason at all, except
not
because
it's arrows.
But it has SCI had a mouse cursor for basically no reason except that LucasArts had one.
And LucasArts actually used it
because the control is all done through text input, of course, the text parser, and what SCI had over AGI, of course, is that the game pauses while you're typing.
Oh, God.
Whereas AGI, in a lot of ways, you have to very, very quickly type like a fucking secretary at the CIA while you're speeding towards death.
That wasn't fun. Not fun at all.
Hello, listeners. It's a lovely, humid Saturday afternoon in Australian January.
So humid.
I'm Yahtzee Croshaw, and you're listening to the Sierra Presents Masterpiece Theatre.
I'm Pudgy Elder God Chub Niggurath.
It's Space Quest 3, actually.
Pirates of Pestillon.
Yes.
Old Sierra point-and-click games. Sadness generators.
Well, we'll get to that.
Wait, is this the point-and-click or is this verb?
Well, I wanted to get onto that later.
Okay.
But this is an SCI game. One of the earlier SCI games, which was the second engine Sierra worked with after AGI. AGI was what they made the really low-res stuff like Space Quest 2 and King's Quest 1 with.
Yeah, they're...
Where everyone's like rectangular bricks.
Yeah, it looks like an advanced Atari 2600.
This is getting better. I actually really like the music in this game, incidentally.
Yeah, that is pretty good, actually. Reminds me of Quantum Leap for some reason.
I always quite liked the music in Space Quest.
I think there's something to be said for back before you could have any orchestrated music. I think that forced creativity.
Well, this is a point I've often made, is that video game music was often much more melodious in retro times.
Yeah.
Because they had to have memorable melodies. Now,
Mega Man 1, that game has some great music.
as I was saying, this is the SCI engine, which got all the way up to 320 by 200 graphics. Whoa, crazy. Hope it never stops.
Did you even have a monitor capable of that kind of majesty?
I did want to say, actually, there's something really, really wrong about watching a 320 by 200 game on a 60-inch TV, full screen.
I don't know. I think it holds up. Like
While I was playing through this, I felt like the text font was trying to kill me.
That's just a Sierra game. The text font is trying to kill you.
Now, this game is Space Quest 3 and picks up after Space Quest 2 left off. Space Quest 2 ended pretty much exactly the same way Flashback ended, with our hero in an escape pod, drifting in unknown space.
It's a fairly safe way to end any sci-fi, really.
I think it's a pretty natural conclusion, because sci-fi is all about the wonder of exploration, and this ending is all like, the adventure continues sort of approach.
If you're adrift in an escape pod, the adventure can continue in pretty much any way.
Yeah, I mean, James Bond films tended to end in a similar way, where he'd be in an escape vehicle with his It's not really testing your logic, problem-solving skills, is it?
I mean, on the plus side, you learn to type playing these damn things.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people did. So the solution to the puzzle wherein we take a reactor, but then the rat we stole it from steals it back, is then to steal it back again. And then he's fine.
Amazing! Now I've got the theme to Ratties stuck in my head.
Yep. But it's
Ratties.
just sort of like the shape of things to come. It's just the sort of like...
Yeah, little self-contained quasi-non-problems.
This is a game of bumbling around. That didn't work. Oh, can I try it again? Yes. Does it work this time? Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, fine, go away.
It's like we're playing.
Sick of looking at you.
Like we're playing a pen and paper RPG with a bored dungeon master at the end of a long day.
That's a very good way of summing this up. All I can think about now is like Indiana Jones and Fate of Atlantis. Because that was a fucking amazing game that had different difficulty levels, different ways of solving puzzles.
By the way, that's a ledge down there that you might fall off if you walk over it. See? It's a good thing they made that very clear.
They signpost those a lot. It's really your fault for falling off that obvious ledge.
Yes. Another thing about these games is they could be kind of like traumatic.
Yeah, no, the old Sierra games would just kill you all the time for no fucking reason. Like, that wasn't a reason.
But, they'll kill you in a kind of jovial way, but they'll also show a really heart-stoppingly gory image of it happening. There are some later that really boggle the mind.
Yeah, no.
I mean, when you look at, the fuss people make about violent games these days...
Well, this was when the only people who played games were people who played games, and other people just didn't know about this stuff going on.
Yeah, well, PC gaming around this time was pretty much much more the adult sphere, because playing a PC game required a certain amount of expertise, unlike console games where kids could just slam it in and get going.
Slam it in and get going.
That's the ship we want. It's called the Aluminum Mallard. It's a joke, and here's a reference to 2001, because
there's been a few references already.
Yeah, that was the Space Quest series for you. It referenced shit a lot.
Hey, remember that sci-fi?
Yeah, and they'd slightly changed the name of it. Like earlier when we looked at that TIE fighter, the text box, the bow TIE fighter, a relic of the Cologne Wars, they said. That's a very... Look at that. You die if you step off like a 3-foot high ledge, and
not Yahtzee Croshaw. I'm gonna create boobs.
I used to draw my own pictures of tits and jerk off to them when I was a kid. Anyway, now interestingly,
I feel better about myself, and so should you.
Now, what's the one thing everyone knows about Sierra adventure games?
They will fucking kill you for nothing. Yeah.
Well, Space Quest 3 is surprisingly gentle.
Side. Yep, there we go.
You actually have to put quite a lot of work into finding the first death in Space Quest 3. In Space Quest 2, Leisure Suit Larry 1, and King's Quest 1, and I think King's Quest 2 as well, you could die by walking 3 feet in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Right at the very start of the game.
Onto the road.
But you have to go through quite a few room transitions to find a way to die in Space Quest 3, and as you can see, it's actually pretty well signposted. It's a mincer.
Yeah.
Stay out of that.
Yeah. Nothing good is going to happen if you sit there. Yeah, I had this. I was trying to remember whether it was this one or the second one that I had when I was a kid.
I had all of them. I had the Space Quest collection.
I got that much later when you could get it on a disc.
Yes, that's what I had. I had Space Quest 4 for a while, which I think is the very worst Space Quest. I chose this Space Quest because I think it's one of the worst, but I have strange mixed feelings about it. Oh yeah, and watch how long it takes for me to lose patience and up the game speed piloting this fucking thing. That's the other thing about Sierra games.
You could crank the speed.
Yeah, you cranked the game speed up and down. The AGI games only had slow, normal, fast, and fastest. And fastest was just
unplayable.
As fast as your computer could run it, which meant unplayably fast for every computer past a certain point.
Yeah, there were a few old police. I liked the Police Quest games, and Police Quest 3. You can get it through good old games now, and it's made so it'll actually run, and I suggest that because it's a good game. But in the old days where you were downloading it as abandonware on any computer that wasn't like a 386, the little arcade driving sequences would go batshit.
Cranked up that speed. Whoa, yeah, now we're space adventuring. Actually, one of the reasons I did pick this one is because it is very boring. And the reason for that is because there's no quest in it.
Yeah.
It's just sort of bumming around space for a while, and then, for want of something to do, you go off and rescue some guys you've never met.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that is what I